here. Ladies and gentlemen, I always like starting off like that. We're back. It's episode 186 of your favorite podcast, Keepin It Rio. I know by now everybody's aware it's the world famous and it is your favorite podcast, so we don't need to harp on that any further. But today I have gone and found myself a very interesting guest for the show. I like to do, as everyone's aware, I like to go on the Facebook pages and kind of seek out random guests for my podcast. And here was one that reached out to me and had a very interesting story that I'd love to share. So without any hesitation whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, please let me welcome Robb Moore to the show. Robb, welcome to Keepin It Rio, sir. How you doing?
Hey, thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. Like I said, I saw what you've got going on here, and I think you're doing something that's great for mankind and humanity in general. And I'd love to share the word and kind of see what we can do to help you out. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll kind of dig into what you're doing with your project and how you're going to save the world.
Sure. Well, my background is mechanical engineering. My history is mostly just designing sort of everything that you can see and touch that isn't a bridge or a building. I've designed all kinds of things: medical devices, toys, semiconductor equipment, consumer products, industrial products, robotics, automation, all the kind of the mechanical widgets and gizmos you might run into. You know, you're in the roofing industry, you probably have a bunch of different tools you use to make your life a little better, make it run faster, whether it's a nail gun or a bubble level or whatever. So my background is kind of designing all those sorts of widgets. Again, like not a bridge or a building. I'm not a civil engineer. I'm more like a product designer. So
I respect the fact that you clarify that, because I always say, you know, people that design the buildings and stuff with roofing structures and so on, I always like to just ask, what were you thinking when you did that? But we won't have that conversation today, because there are some strange designs to roof systems out there.
I would probably be asking the same kinds of questions if I was in your business too. And it's hard to know, like from the engineering point of view, there's a lot of things that are pulling you in different directions besides just, you know, delighting the customer as one aspect of what it is you're designing, but you're also trying to delight your boss, and he or she's trying to delight the board of directors and the CFO and marketing and sales, and everyone's kind of pulling on each other, trying to get what they want out of a product. And so the engineer who's actually doing the designing, sometimes, you know, you get pulled in a lot of different directions. And so that, to answer your question about why would you do something like that, there's a lot of different reasons. But I've started I started my own consulting company a long time ago, like maybe 27 years ago, doing product design for a lot of different kinds of companies, individual inventors, but also like Fortune 50, Fortune 20 type companies, big companies. And I back in about 2003, I started my own company of a computer product that I had, a company called IOSafe, and I designed a fireproof, waterproof hard drive it's kind of like an aircraft black box, but for digital data. So, you know, if you wanted to keep terabytes and terabytes safe, and you didn't want the monthly fees and you didn't want the exposure online, maybe you'd buy one of these boxes and do that. So I sold that company, and then have just been doing Collabora for a few years. That's my consulting company again. But then I've always had this other business idea in the back of my brain for a long time, which my newest business is called Happy Vest. And I've always been concerned with fighting pollution, and you know, I'm the kind of person who walks anywhere I'm going. If I see a piece of garbage somewhere, it sort of bugs me enough to pick it up and throw it away. And it's always sort of bugged me. And then I have this idea about how to eradicate poverty and how to eradicate pollution, or at least make a dent in it at the same time. So Happy Vest is kind of like an idea that I'm just getting started. It's kind of in its larval stage. We're working on an app. App should be out in maybe a month. But working on, our social presence, social media presence, and it's gonna get used to this podcast thing. It's kind of new for me. So
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's going to be an app that kind of works like Uber, but no cars. And instead of people giving you rides, they're going to be picking up garbage. And so maybe, at least initially, there's a lot of different jobs somebody can do. But the idea right now is just pick up garbage. There's lots of garbage in this world. There's lots of poverty in this world. And I thought this would be a good venture to start, to just as my this is definitely something that's near and dear to my heart, and I've been thinking about for a really long time. So I'm kind of excited to kick it off and get it going.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what a noble thing to do. Let me ask this though, like, how did that become so near and dear to your heart? Was there something, along the way in life that you've seen or witnessed that stuck with you and made you think, hey, I need to do something to make a difference? Is it just, you've got a good heart, you just want to help? What puts you in a position to where you decide, hey, I want to end poverty and I want to end pollution?
Ending poverty would be quite a big one. It would be amazing if you could do that. And I do have a kind of a couple origin stories of how this sort of got embedded inside my soul as something I wanted to work on. And it took a long time, maybe 30 years ago. I was living down in Santa Barbara, and I would take the same exit every day from work, and I would roll up the exit, and there'd be the same homeless guy standing on the corner with a sign, need money, give me some money. And a couple of times I did give him money, and then at one point, I was eating in a restaurant, and he walked in, which was fine. And he was going to get some food, which was also fine. And he pulled out like the biggest roll of cash I'd ever seen in my whole life. Like I was probably 20, 21, 22. And it was like a 4-inch roll of cash. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, of course he's never gonna work ever, because he's just getting free money all the time. Like, why? And then I started to do some research, and the average dollars per hour, even at that time, I think it was something like $30 an hour is what people could make.
Good job. Yeah.
Asking for money. And I was just, I felt, it sounds kind of bad, but I felt like kind of a schmuck. I'm just like, I'm not helping this person by just giving him money all the time. And so I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't just do that anymore, because it just, people go use it for drugs, and they're not motivated to work. And I just didn't like that idea about being a part of I would say the dysfunctionality of society that way somehow. So it really kind of bugged me, and I'd been thinking about it a long time, and I made a promise to myself. I'm like, I am never giving money to somebody who just is able-bodied and looks like they can work and looks like they should work, and they're coming up to me and asking me for money. I'm just not going to do it unless they're actually working. And then I told myself, if I see them actually working, I will give them everything in my wallet, just whatever's in my wallet, all of it, because they're the ones that deserve it. They're the ones working. And so it took about 15 years. And I stopped at a gas station, and a homeless guy walked up to me while I was pumping gas. He's like, "Hey, you have any food? I'm really hungry. I'd like to eat something," which is code word for, just give me some money. And I'm like, "No, man, I don't." And he walked away. He's like, "That's fine." He was really polite. And he starts picking up little bits of trash around the gas station. And I'm looking around this gas station, and this is the cleanest gas station I'd ever been at. I didn't see even one little piece of garbage anywhere on the ground, anywhere. And he's picking up little bits and throwing it away. And at the time, I was feeling like actually really poor. I was kind of losing a lot of money in my business that I had just started. And
Imagine that.
I was feeling pretty poor, but I just went to the ATM like the day before, and I had $91 in my wallet. And I walked up to him and I said, I wish I would have got his name. But I walked up to him and I'm like, "Hey, you are the very first person that was asking me for money and actually doing a little bit of work. You're the very first person that I ever met that was doing that. And I made a promise to myself a long time ago that if I ever met somebody asking me for money and actually doing work, I was going to give him everything in my wallet. And so here is $91. I'm like, dude, you just keep pushing. You keep grinding. You will get out of this. I promise you. You keep working hard. You will get yourself out of this mess." And he was just, I think he was just completely floored. And he was just like, "God bless you." And I felt so good inside that I not only was helping this person, but a very deserving person, I would say. At least in my mind, he deserved. And if I had $500 in my wallet, I would have given him all 500 as well. Like I never carry $500 in my wallet, but if I did, I would have done it, like no matter what. And because I knew that if I didn't do that, I would have such bad juju into the future.
Right. Yeah. Once you say it, you've got to stick to your word on stuff like that, or else, even if you just promise to yourself, that's the person that you don't want to let down.
Right. And my wife at the time was really mad at me for doing this, because she didn't understand how long it had been. And I don't remember if she knew the backstory of everything. That was just, it was always been in my head though. Right. And so it kind of got me started thinking about the business potential, or how I could get it into a bit. And this was still a while ago, maybe 12, 13 years ago. And so I've been stewing on this concept for a really long time until my second wife and I went to Africa to speak at a conference, or I went to speak at a conference and she was with me. And there's so much poverty in Africa, and man, they just want to work so bad, and they want jobs so bad. And it really just inspired me to finally get Happy Vest, pick a name, pick a concept for the app, like get it off the ground and start developing and just make it happen. Because, it's time. It's time. And I'm ready. I'm mentally ready. I'm my spirit is ready to push something like this hard. And so anyway, that's the origin story.
I love that. And what a great way to start the story. I mean, you helped somebody and it made you feel good. And then you realized, hey, this can catch on, helping people and feeling good. That's not a bad thing at all. And I really love the fact that you traveled around the world and saw some of the other things. I was in a golf tournament last week here in San Antonio, and it was a organization that actually was building water filtration systems in Honduras. And it was the coolest thing. They're actually, digging the tunnels or the whatever they do to put pipes down, and the trenches, doing all that stuff and putting water in these homes. And the guy said, the first time they turn on the water, it's like completely changing their entire life. And you go somewhere that's got a lot of poverty, a lot of just, bad things going on. And like you say, it's not the people, it's their circumstance. And finding a way to change their circumstance and give them a sense of purpose, I think, is really probably equally important as to, the actual overall cause, which is to go pick up stuff that's not supposed to be there and put it where it's supposed to be. But tell me a little bit about it. Okay, so you've got the concept, you've got everything figured out. It's 30 years in the making. So this thing is big time, right? I love that. And I love the fact that after 30 years, you decided, hey, let's do it, right? Now is the time. And okay, that's terrific. I talk to a lot of people that do startups that have large companies, and they all start the same way, with an idea. And then one day it's like, let's do it. But now comes the fun part, which is actually building it. So tell me a little bit about how this process goes from the concept to where you're ready now to unveil here, not too far off into the future, with something that's going to change the world. Can't snap your finger and make that happen. So Rob, tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, starting a company is a lot of different things all at once, as running your own company. It's not just the product, it's how do you sell the product? How do you market the product? How do you hire employees? How do you hire, back-end staff? How do you do billing? How do you do marketing and PR? And all these things are kind of hitting all at once. And so I think a lot about all those aspects. I thought long and hard about Happy Vest. Did I want it to be a nonprofit, or did I want it to be, quote unquote, a real company? And so I landed on structuring it as a for-profit company, delivering real value to our customers. But it's more like a company with a conscience. It isn't just about making the profit. It's even more so is about changing people's lives, giving people a purpose to work hard and to, get promoted up through the ranks, get a job. Get a job and be proud of the job that they're getting, no matter what they look like or smell like or whatever. It's like, in my mind, you can smell like pee and just have not even a shirt and maybe a pair of pants and some shoes to your name, and that's it. And maybe haven't had a bath in a month or whatever. We'll hire you. It's okay. Like like, how do you pull somebody up by rock bottom, right? Doesn't have a house, no money. They haven't had a bath in months. They're addicted to drugs, whatever. It's like, we don't care. It's like, if you can somehow get yourself to the job site, or maybe as we get bigger, we offer this as an assist. Maybe we'll have vehicles around in the area where we can pull people to job sites. We can enable that to happen as well. We are open to hiring anybody, any religion or not religious, any color, any orientation, anything. Like, it's okay. It's not about what you look like or smell like or act like. It's a little bit about what you act like. You should be open to work and you need to keep working. If you're a flake, or if you say you're going to be somewhere and you're not, it doesn't mean you're necessarily fired, but it does mean you probably won't get promoted. You need to do a good job. You need to take pride in your job. You need to be helpful. You need to do what you can. If you're handicapped, almost anyone can pick up garbage. If they're not bedridden, they can almost pick up garbage, right? With the little garbage grabber and a trash bag, and even if it's slow, it's okay. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to lift people up who really could use the job, who really don't interview very well, who really maybe they don't have a place to live, maybe they're just struggling and they want a way out. This is like, we're throwing them a ladder that they can help climb out of this hole that they're in, and at the same time clean up some disgusting streets. Clean up. I'm sure in your town there's some disgusting areas where you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
why is this have to be this way, right? And so the idea is to lift these people out of poverty, use technology to do it. Use online banking, GPS tracking, social media, video recording, still camera recording. Use this all together in a big kind of collective app that can take all this data and help analyze it for quality control, help us with social media. Maybe McDonald's would like to hire us to clean up around their restaurants in certain areas, right? So maybe we send out a crew to McDonald's in Chicago or wherever, and we go around the restaurant and we're cleaning up and we're taking pictures of maybe it's the franchise owner, and we're taking pictures of the franchise owner and taking pictures of the people that we're hiring, and hashtag McDonald's Chicago. Thank you so much for helping our workers at Happy Vest do what they need to do to pull themselves out of poverty. This is what it looked like before. It was disgusting, and we hired these people and cleaned it all up, and it looks amazing now. And thank you. And it becomes like a social media opportunity for the Chicago McDonald's. At the same time, it's a feel-good piece for everyone in the community. It's a feel-good piece for the workers. They get paid, right? Happy Vest gets paid. We do a service for the restaurant. We clean up all around. We do some social media co-marketing together, and it's kind of like killing 4 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, everybody wins in that situation, and I absolutely love that. And to me, the greatest part of this entire story is you are literally giving an opportunity to those who have very likely given up and have decided that there are no opportunities in life for them. They are living at the absolute lowest point that you can possibly find yourself. And some of the greatest people in the world just have bad mistakes and get themselves into a real bad situation, and they never get an opportunity to pull themselves out. They never get an opportunity to prove themselves to society again. And I think that's the most noble thing about this, is you are really going to help people that really need and appreciate that. But the other aspect that I really like is the accountability. It's not just, you show up whenever you feel like it and we'll throw you a few bucks. You need to show some accountability. We're going to give you something that you can be prideful of and something that you can move up in. And I think that is a very, that's a great aspect of the entire thing. That, again, if you're at the bottom of your life and you're living the worst possible existence and you have no hope, all of a sudden you've got a goal and it's like, hey, I can achieve the next level. I can do more.
Right.
And that, I think, is the most understated aspect of this whole thing, at least at the moment. And I really, really appreciate that, because, we need that in this world.
Yeah. And it's very much a colorblind type company where we just don't care where you come from, what you look like, what color your skin is. We just don't care. It's like, do you have a need? Do you want a job? Are you willing to work? If the answer to both of those is yes, then we're gonna give you a shot. You know, if we're operating in your city, we're gonna give you a shot. And the idea, I keep coming back to this, and this is the way the app will be built. But I keep coming back to kind of a kind of a military style advancement. So when people first get hired, we're going to call them recruits, and you're a recruit, and you start off. You haven't even achieved any level besides recruit. You can start working. We'll get you integrated. You might need a smartphone. A lot of homeless people these days have smartphones.
That was one of my questions. Yeah. And
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. A lot of them do. They get free smartphones, hand-me-downs, whatnot. And we'll probably be accepting people's hand-me-down smartphones. So we have a stash of smartphones we can start to use to give to people if they need it. But the idea is to leverage that smartphone to help get those people paid, to help understand, you know, their location. Like, we need to come pick you up. Where are you? You know, we can come and find them. We can also use the GPS location to sort of analyze, like, maybe there's a platoon of 10 people going to do a pickup somewhere. Well, you can use those GPS positions to like analyze, like, are they really going around and cleaning up? Or are they all sitting on the street corner yucking it up, right? That they're getting money for free. And so I want to avoid that like the plague. And so the idea is to have this sort of stair-step advancement where they start off as recruits, and we assign like a captain to take care of that platoon or take care of the group. And as the best recruits prove themselves that they're worthy of advancement, we'll advance them to private, maybe corporal, you know, up the food chain. And there'll be captains and colonels and generals, and maybe a general is in charge of an entire state, or maybe a general is in charge of half the United States, or all of Nigeria. Let's say there's the Nigerian, you know, general, or the Ghana general. So we'll rank people that way based on merit. Like, how good of a worker are you? Are you a really good worker? Because if you are, then you could advance through the organization. And maybe I'm hopeful that a lot of recruits who are just pulling themselves up from nothing, maybe they'll help us on the social media side. Maybe they'll help us, you know, record great content and develop great content. Maybe they'll help us on the advertising side, you know, pitching hotels and restaurants and manufacturers and city, county, state governments on like the benefits of Happy Vest and putting these people to work. And they'll help us get those kinds of jobs so that we can just keep the whole thing going. And maybe they'll advance all the way up to being general of their own division or what have you, or I don't know. Like, I don't really know. All I know is
the possibilities are limitless at this point. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And I love the excitement that you show as you explain how this is going to work.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you just know things are going to work because you believe it in your heart and you're doing it for the right reasons. And this is one of those cases. And before we get too far in, I do have a question about the process of recruiting.
Yeah.
It's
really easy.
Yeah.
It's
right.
Really easy. You just walk up to somebody who looks like they need some help, and you go, hey, or if they ask you for money, you're like, do you want a job? And if they say, yeah, I'll do some work, you're like, I got some work. Come on.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing But
It's
let me
gotta
ask
work.
you this, you yourself are not going to be able to go to, all these different countries and all the states in the United States and hand pick. So what does it look like building a team that's going to be able to cover that territory, to go out and find recruits, the ground level kind of people that are going to start this and actually go out and do that boots on the ground type stuff? What does that process look like for you? How many people in the initial phase here versus what your ultimate goal looks like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So while Jill and I were traveling to we were in Nigeria, it's just, you go to Nigeria, it's like dropping into Mars. I don't know if you've ever been to Africa, let alone like third world Africa. I've been to a number of third world countries, and every country on the planet, with maybe the exception of Singapore, every country on the planet is just full of garbage. It's disgusting. United States included, absolutely. So we're in Nigeria. So many people, so many poor people. Jill and I are walking around the markets in Nigeria, and all of a sudden, one guy comes up, wants to help us. Help meaning just tell me what you're looking for, and I will help you find it. And when you do find it, if you could give me $1, I would be like super excited. Like literally $1, it would be food for them for 3 days, right? It's that sort of thing. Anyway, one guy comes up, second guy comes up, third guy comes up. Soon we're walking around this market in the middle of Abuja, Nigeria, the Wuse market. There's probably 5,000 vendors at this market, all sitting in sort of 8x10 stalls, selling whatever it is they're trying to sell. So we just have this cluster of people following us around, like a cloud of people, just like, what do you need now? What do you need now? What do you need now? And they all want to help, and they're so eager to work. Nobody makes enough money to do drugs over there. Like, they're not strung out on drugs. They're just hungry and homeless, and they could really use some help, right? And I'm walking around this market, and the market's disgusting. It's like there's garbage everywhere, and the streets are disgusting. There's garbage on the streets, and it's just like it's too bad. It's a beautiful country. There's just garbage, and there's a lot of people that need work. And so we were talking about the idea, and more inspired. And then we happened to go to Ghana on our way as our last country leaving Africa. Oh, before Nigeria, we were in Cairo, Egypt, which is Africa as well. Same issue. Lots of hungry people, lots of disgusting. And you're right by the pyramids, right? And there's just garbage everywhere. It's super disgusting. And as a tourist, you just be like, this would be so much better if it wasn't so gross, right?
Yeah, that's not the lasting memory that you want.
No, and that's not the memory that the city of Cairo wants to give to its deep pocket tourists. And it's not the memory that Egypt wants to give as to their tourists either. It should be, come see one of the wonders of the world, and it's amazing, and it's clean, but it's not. It's gross, right? It's gross. And so we got to Ghana, and we're sitting here. We went to the most popular beach in the capital of Ghana, Accra, Ghana, called Libidi Beach. And we decided we're going to make some content about Happy Vest. 2 young boys come up and ask us, hey, do you want to buy some tissues? They're selling little packs of tissues. It's kind of like Tijuana, Mexico, or Cabo San Lucas. If you've been to Mexico before, you know, lots of people just roaming around trying to sell little beads, a t-shirt. I don't know. These two boys were selling tissues. Jill and I had finished our lunch, but it was way too much food for us, and so we put all our napkins on top of our food, like we're done. You know, we're done. And this older guy, while these two kids are trying to sell us tissues, this older guy is like, "Hey, those two boys, they'll finish your food." And I was just like, "No, it's kind of gross." He's like, "They don't care. Like, they'll finish it." And so I felt bad about wasting it. And so I even ordered a little bit more food, and I took our tissues away, and we fed these boys, and they ate so fast, and they were so hungry. And we asked him, like, "Hey, will you help us? Can we hire you to help pick up some garbage on Libidi Beach?" Which is kind of disgusting because there's garbage. Just water's beautiful, beach is beautiful, but it's disgusting because
it needs a little cleanup.
There's just garbage everywhere, right? So a lot of the images you might see on our website, these two boys that we met that are helping us pick up some garbage on Libidi Beach at a beautiful place. We worked for about a half hour, 45 minutes. I gave him, I forget exactly what I gave him, the equivalent, because the money exchange rate. I gave him the equivalent of about $5 for about 45 minutes worth of work, which minimum wage in Ghana is something like $2 a week.
I was gonna say $5 goes a long way at that
$5,
point.
like literally less than a cup of coffee, is like easily a week's worth of pay for some of these people.
Wow.
And I'm still connected with them on WhatsApp. And so I talk to him every once in a while, and I tell him we're working on this, you know, hang in there. But they were doing backflips, like how much they could earn. And so it really started to push me really hard to, like, let's get this done. Let's make it known in Western societies that you can do so much help for just pocket change, right? Literally just pocket change. You can make such a huge difference in these people's lives. And you can be assured that the money, what I really want is, I really want people to know and be really open book about everything. I want them to know that the money's going towards paying real people, and they'll see that it is going towards real progress, real people doing real good work and helping to promote Ghana. So we've kind of literally established our beachhead at Ghana, and that's where we're starting Happy Vest. We ran into just serendipitously at our hotel, the person that was helping, the main contact that was helping us at the hotel, happened to be a software developer with a team.
Nice.
So
good when that happens. Random.
Yeah, they're excited to help us. We've already done some other events in Accra, Ghana, and I'm excited to say, as of this last weekend, we generated our first revenue product. Our revenue project was our very first incoming money, which is always exciting when you're starting a business, right?
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. This is the first podcast you've been on as the owner of Happy Vest, which is now a revenue generating business.
It is officially, it's not even close to being profitable, of course, but it is officially generated some revenue.
You've got that dollar that you can hang on the wall. And to me, that's awesome. 15, 20 years down the road, when you've done all this work and you've helped so many people, I'm going to come back and say, hey guys, that dude was on my podcast when he made his first deal, and nobody will believe me, but thank God we've got YouTube. And at that point,
Yeah,
it'll be pretty awesome. So that is really a amazing story. And I do have a couple other things I want to ask. I want to make sure that I'm very respectful of your time.
Sure.
With building an app, we talked already about how, which surprisingly to me, that technology is more readily available than I had initially assumed. And I've done a podcast with a lady that was on the island of Vanuatu before. So I understand that there's internet in other places of the world, but not in the areas that are so impoverished. I guess my real question would be, okay, when the folks come and they want to work with you, you've got the technology where you can, GPS locate, you've got the phones and all that stuff. But how does that all translate into, if you guys take this phone and do all this stuff, you're going to get paid. How does that process work with getting someone paid that probably doesn't have a bank account, that may not even be eligible for bank accounts, quite honestly? How do things like that work in the grand scheme of things? And are there plans to, kind of not go around, but, understand how to beat those things?
Yeah. I mean, compensating people is a huge part of it. And I don't want to minimize the fact that I'm very mindful of fraud, and that's going to be one thing that we're fighting, that we're planning on fighting, because if it gets really big, fraud's going to be
it's inevitable. There's bad apples everywhere, and in a lot of cases, you're unfortunately, I hate to say it, your target demographic sometimes could also be bad apples.
I get it. And so part of this app will be a financial aspect of the app. So it's surprising, actually, in Africa, there's such a lack of infrastructure that for decades and decades, like I would say, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they're just impossibly behind in terms of infrastructure. And they are still very much behind in a lot of ways in infrastructure there. But one thing they're not behind at is wireless infrastructure. I would say wireless infrastructure, it's on par with the United States, maybe even a little bit better, because they don't even have wires to rely on at all. So they have to kind of rely on the wireless aspect of technology. And so as far as cell phone goes, almost everyone has might not be a smartphone, but a lot of people have smartphones, and almost everybody has a phone, whether it's like a flip phone or a smartphone. I would say in Africa, it's probably 50-50 flip and smart. The phone plans aren't very expensive at all. Like and there's Wi-Fi available everywhere, and people hotspot share with each other when they want to get online and whatnot. So that is one thing that we'll need to be addressing. But I think if you look at the Venn diagram, the overlap of people with smartphones and the people that are homeless, you'll still find a ton of candidates that have both a smartphone and they're homeless. And so initially we'll be hiring kind of more on that side, with the eventual goal to have a big stash of smartphones that we can give to recruits that first prove themselves that they're willing to work, right? You don't just get a smartphone like, oh, here's a free smartphone. It's like, no, you're gonna have to earn this smartphone, right? So maybe the smartphone costs $3, and your first hour you get $3. Maybe you kind of pay for that smartphone with your first hour of work. I don't know. We haven't worked that out, but but the idea of money transfer will happen at the app level. We're going to have to take it country by country. Every country kind of has its own little smart financial app. But I would say Africa's way more advanced than the United States is in simple smartphone banking. Actually,
Well, there
like
you
it's
go.
easy. It's easier. Like people go around and they tap phones all the time to pay. Like, oh, let me give you $1. There's $1. Boop, right? And so in the United States, it's kind of like that, but not quite. I would say the adoption rate in the United States maybe is like maybe it's 25%. I don't know. I'm just guessing. In Africa, it's probably more like 80, 90%. It's people they can't make it to a bank, right? People, there's no bank.
Yeah,
They
no
have their
brick and
car.
mortar, and I got you.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I'd never really thought of it in those terms, but that makes perfect sense.
Right. So the bank's in your hand now, right?
I like
So
it. Yeah.
now you can go buy stuff with your phone.
That is outstanding, and I like that you've got your plan. You've got everything figured out. You know where you're going to start with it. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. You're over in Ghana. Your guys, I'm looking at them right here on your website.
Yeah.
They look like they're ready to rock and roll. They're out
Yeah.
doing this. They start recruiting a bunch of people. They start making money. Really good things start happening. What is the plan for phase 2 of the business? Once you've got everything kind of up, you're ironing out some of those initial bugs that you're inevitably going to have, especially with something of this magnitude. You kind of get it running a little bit smoothly. What's step 2 look like once you've kind of gotten the things going? I know you just said, Chicago was an example. Obviously, there's an entire world. So what's the worldwide takeover look like starting at phase 2?
Well, I mean, I'm doing this business as a for-profit business, and the logic is that we're providing real value for our customers. We're providing real workers. We're providing real marketing, social media marketing back for our customers as well. And so there's always going to be overhead and developers, and there's back end CFOs, financial people. There's got to be salespeople. There's got to be marketing people. There's got to be people drumming up, the new work, the next job site. There's going to be logistics around transporting people around. And so I would say I haven't finalized a gross profit number, but whatever that number is, we just, as you know, as a business person, you just take all of it and you dump it right back into the business. And if you're growing up at an angle, you need capital to hire more people and to buy more products and to do more infrastructure. So it's basically phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5 is keep investing back into the business to grow, to make it smarter. Maybe at some point we start to incorporate artificial intelligence and GPS tracking to make sure we're uncovering any fraud. We're also like using different aspects of the app to make online banking slicker, make international financial reporting easier. There's all these things that are going to be harder. We're probably, because I live in Salem, Oregon, we'll probably start in the United States in Salem, Oregon, just so I can work out the kinks.
Yep.
So I can find my captain. I can find a handful of workers. We can get in there and we can get to work and then see what's broken, right? Fix what's broke, move on. I'm expecting a lot of different things to break. I'm just not exactly sure how they're going to break. So I need to break them and I need to fix them and we need to move on.
That's the formula for success right there. And nobody ever wants to think in those terms of I've got to break it in order to make it better. But that's reality. If you just kind of coast along with the same thing, you never really grow, you never develop, and you never learn. And something like this, you've got the right mindset. I mean, to think that it's going to go smoothly would be insane, quite frankly.
Yeah, no.
Every possible hiccup that you can possibly come up with is probably going to come your way. And I think being able to weather those storms and continue to move forward and continue to grow at a sustainable pace is, that's the main focus. Like you said, everything you make is going to go back into it for the foreseeable future. So once you get out of that, okay, everything that we get is going back in, we've built something good. What does your plan look like as far as, is this something you want to, obviously you want to scale it worldwide, but is there a point in time where you say, hey man, I have done all of this and now I just want to go sit on an island somewhere. All the islands are clean now, so I want to go to the cleanest beaches in the world. What's the exit, or is there an exit strategy at this point, or do you foresee there being one?
I don't see. I keep asking myself this, and this is also another reason why this is for profit. Is for us to attract super top talent, the mission of the company is very attractive for the right kind of people and the right mindset of wanting to give back, right? The problem is, you have giant tech companies like Google and Amazon, and they attract top programming talent. And they suck up all the graduates that do all the programming. So that's another reason why I wanted Happy Vest to be for profit, because I really do believe that at some point, if we can be big enough, and I don't see why it doesn't scale to be millions of workers, right? I don't see why it doesn't work for 1 million people. So let's say that's our goal, to be 1 million, which in the whole scope of things worldwide isn't a big percentage.
It's a tiny little blip. Absolutely. 1 million sounds amazing, but
fraction of a fraction, right? But let's say we can build an app that scales to 1 million, and it's a big company generating lots of revenue, doing lots of good work. I don't see why Happy Vest wouldn't just go public.
There you go. And that was going to be the question, at some point, do you just say, hey, everybody, let's all just benefit from this together. Let's make this a worldwide thing that's just undeniable. And that's a terrific answer.
And then all the people, all the early employees that are helping us, working for basically no salary. They're working
labor. They're working
for the love of the project, but also, they got to feed their families too. And I get it. And I want to give them a way to feed their families. So instead of it being a nonprofit where I'm always going around asking for handouts, asking for, please help me, please help me, please help me. It's like, no, I'm going to give you something so valuable. You don't see a problem with floating us $300-400 a month, and we'll always clean up around your restaurant, let's say. I don't know. Or maybe it's the city that you're in. Maybe we get a contract to $2,000 a month, and we just go around with our crew and we do $2,000 worth of cleanup and $2,000 worth of PR for the city, and just good vibes for the city. They waste that kind of money every day on marketing. Like,
oh my gosh,
they might as well do something good with it.
I agree with that 100%. And I see a huge need around the world. I think that like you said, there's no reason why this can't succeed, because the purpose is great. The impact that it's going to have on the people that it's going to help is literally life changing. I mean, you are going to change many, 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 many lives and instill a sense of pride in people, instill a sense of pride in the communities once again. And really the coolest part about the story is it kind of goes full circle. Like you said, you know, you met a gentleman that was picking up debris at a gas station one day years ago, and it's going to come full circle. And, you know, as a tribute to that guy, you're going to end up making, you know, that into a major thing that happens all over. And I can't say enough how commendable that is and how much I really respect you for taking the initiative and doing something that's been in your heart for all those years and actually implementing it and making it a thing. And I really look forward to seeing this progression over the course of time. We're almost up on the hour right now, so I want to just ask the last question that I always love to ask. And I think in this case, this might be the best question of the day. Someone's watching this and they can think of someone that maybe could be affected or impacted by Happy Vest, or they just want to maybe throw some money, a donation or something of that nature. They want you to come work for their business. What is a good way? And maybe we're still too early in the process right now for this to be a real legitimate question, but if someone wants to get a hold of you, if they want to follow the company, if they want to see your story a little bit further in depth, what are the best channels for people to go about doing that?
Yeah, well, first we have the website happyvest.com. And so people can just go to the website and they'll be, at some point, the links will be working so you can download the app. Once you have the app on your phone, you can either be a sponsor, maybe you're in for $1 a month. Maybe you're in for $5 a month. Maybe you're super rich and you're like, yeah, $100 a month is just totally fine. And you'll get to follow along and see the good work that your money is going towards lifting people out of poverty. You'll see tangible benefits around planet Earth about what you're doing, where your dollar specifically went to go pay for Abraham on Libiddy Beach, to go him and his brother Grover to get out there and pick up the beach and see what they did yesterday, you know, and you'll be able to see the before and after shots, and you'll be able to say, yeah, I was a part of that. I helped with that. Right. And that's kind of the idea from the individual level. And any bigger sponsors, any restaurants or hotels or city, county, state governments or international countries or whatever, they'll also be able to track the good that they do and all where it's all going. And, you know, a big part of me, even though we're not public as a public company, a big part of me at some point when we're ready, after I get some financial help and get some real, you know, I would say some institutional level financial reporting in place, which isn't there yet. It's kind of duct tape and bubble gum at this point. But you know,
once
we start to get official financial reports, I have no problem with publishing all of that online so people can see where all the money went. And I don't think I think nonprofits aren't even that open, you know, about where the money goes. Like, you know, I want everyone to know. I want it to be open book. I want people to feel good about what it is happening, and I want people to want to be a part of it at any level that they can, even if they can't donate or sponsor. Rather, it's not nonprofit, so I don't want to say donation, but even if they don't have enough money to sponsor anybody, it's fine. Share it with your friends. You know, just get out there and just be like, Happy Vest is amazing. I'm following them. This is amazing. I love it. I want to be a part of it. And just reach out to us. You'll find us on happyvest.com. You'll find us on Facebook at Happy Vest. You'll find us on Instagram, Happy Vest. So we'll be at those places. You can always reach out. It's a very small company, and so if you can help, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole point of this podcast. We're 59 minutes and 39 seconds in, and we met about 62 minutes and 39 seconds ago. So this is something that I'm learning a lot as we go, and I'm super
Cool.
impressed by this entire thing. And I think that, the people that watch my podcast are a very diverse crowd. And I think that we can definitely get a few people to sponsor, to help out. And that's the whole point of doing this stuff.
Yeah, no,
One
I
person,
would love for that to happen. We're not quite ready for that yet, so just stay tuned. But we're close. We're probably a month away from launching the app. I would say just follow us and just keep track of us. We'll let you know when the app drops. And we would just, at this point, I would love to hear anybody's feedback. Anybody who wants to throw some darts at what we're doing and wants to be like, oh, this is gonna break, or that's no good, or this thing needs improvement. I want to hear all of that. I want to hear where it's gonna break. And
I've got some opinionated friends on the social media channel. So if there is any holes in the game, you'll find out about them through my roofing buddies. I want to hear what
their thoughts are. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I know there are some holes, both known and unknown, and I want it to be a really great company through and through. So I'll be fighting to deliver that. So.
There you go. Robb, I can't thank you enough for the time. Like I said, this has been awesome. I appreciate anyone that's willing to go on a random podcast with someone that they meet 3 minutes earlier and tell their story like you have. I hope that I can bring some value to your business as well. And I hope you had a good time, because I certainly did. I want to thank real quick my sponsors, which I forgot to do this a couple episodes ago. My sponsor, roofer.com, which is ROOFR. And what Roofer does, Robb, is they basically take you from the very beginning, your first contact with a potential roofing customer. They run you through the entire process. I've got a full CRM. All the information goes into a database. You can spit out instant estimates, proposals. You can collect your final payments directly online. And Roofer has been the premier roofing satellite measurement provider for me and my company for the last 5 years. So thank you a lot, everybody at Roofer. I appreciate you guys. They're in our second full year, and I hope that we can be partners for life, because they make this possible for me as well. And with that being said, thanks again, Robb, for the time. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing with Happy Vest. To everybody that watches, make sure you go follow and do what you can to be a part of this, because it's something that's good for everybody. There's nothing negative that can come of it. And I think that's the coolest part about what we just talked about. So until next time, I end always with the worst of all taglines. And that quite simply is, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, keep on keeping it real.
Keeping it Rio.